Egmont Group principles for information exchange between FIUs. Principles are binding, therefore cases of significant and relevant noncompliance will be subject to the Egmont Group support and compliance process. Intro. 1. The Egmont Group fosters the development of FIUs and information exchange. 2. The Egmont Group agreed in its charter and statement of purpose to pursue, among its priorities, the stimulation of information exchange and to overcome the obstacles preventing cross-border information sharing. 3. The Egmont Group membership affirms attention to the standards set out in the 2012 Revised Financial Action Task Force recommendations and interpretive notes on Financial Intelligence Unit's recommendation 29 and other forms of international cooperation recommendation 40. Paragraph 4. The definition of FIU is stated within the Charter. Paragraph 5. Information sharing arrangements should aim to foster the widest possible cooperation between FIUs. And 6. The following principles outline generally shared concepts while allowing necessary flexibility. The general framework. Information cooperation between FIUs should be encouraged and based upon a foundation of mutual trust. Paragraph 8. Information sharing arrangements must recognize and allow room for case-by-case solutions to specific problems. Subsection C. International cooperation. Paragraph 9. FIUs should exchange information with foreign FIUs regardless of their status, be it administrative, law enforcement, judicial, or other. 10. To this end, FIUs should have an adequate legal basis for providing cooperation on money laundering, associate predicate offenses, and the financing of terrorism. Paragraph 11. FIUs should exchange information freely, spontaneously, and upon request on the basis of reciprocity. FIUs should ensure that they can rapidly, constructively, and effectively provide the widest range of international cooperation to counter money laundering, associate predicate offenses, and the financing of terrorism. FIUs should do both spontaneously and upon request, and there should be a lawful purpose for providing cooperation. Paragraph 12. In addition to the information that entities report to the FIU under the receipt function, the FIU should be able to obtain and use additional information from reporting entities as needed to perform this analysis properly. Paragraph 13. In order to conduct proper analysis, FIU should have access to the widest possible range of financial, administrative, and law enforcement information. This should include information from open or public sources, as well as relevant information collected and or maintained by or on behalf of other authorities and, where appropriate, commercially held data. Chapter 14. FIUs should be able to disseminate spontaneously and upon request information and the results of their analysis to relevant competent authorities. Paragraph 15. FIUs should use the most efficient means to cooperate. If bilateral or multilateral agreements or arrangements such as a memorandum of understanding are needed, these should be negotiated and signed in a timely way with the widest range of foreign FIUs in the context of international cooperation to counter money laundering, associate predicate offenses, and terrorist financing. Paragraph 16. FIUs should be able to conduct queries on behalf of foreign FIUs. The exchange of these foreign FIUs all information that they would be able to obtain if such queries are carried out domestically. Obligations for the FIU making the request. Paragraph 17. When requesting cooperation, FIU should make their best efforts to provide complete, factual, and appropriate legal information, including the description of the case being analyzed and the potential link with the country receiving the request. This includes indicating a need for urgency to enable timely and efficient execution of the request. Paragraph 18. FIUs may decide to exchange information indirectly with non-counterparts in response to requests from competent authorities. FIUs should ensure that the competent authority requesting the information indirectly always makes it clear who they are requesting the information for and for what purpose. Paragraph 19. Upon request and whenever possible, FIUs should provide feedback to their foreign counterparts on the use of the information provided, as well as on the outcome of the analysis conducted based on the information provided. Paragraph 20. An FIU requesting information should disclose to the FIU that will process the request, the reason for the request, and to the extent possible the purpose for which the information will be used, and provide enough information to enable the FIU receiving the request to provide information lawfully. Paragraph 21. Requests for information that are sent simultaneously to different FAUs should be justified with a clear explanation of the link that involves a specific set of countries. Requests for information should not be sent to large distribution lists if the link is not justifiable to all recipients. Obligations for the FAU receiving the request. Paragraph 22. FAUs should have the power to exchange A. all information required to be accessible or obtainable directly or indirectly by the FAU under the FATF recommendations, in particular under Recommendation 29, and Section little b, any other information which they have the power to obtain or access directly or indirectly at the domestic level, subject to the principle of reciprocity. Paragraph 23. FAUs should acknowledge receipt of requests, respond to requests for information, and provide interim, partial, or negative responses in a timely manner. Unreasonable or unduly restrictive conditions in cases for refusal to international cooperation. Paragraph 24. FAUs should not prohibit or place unreasonable or unduly restrictive conditions on exchanging information or providing assistance. In particular, FAUs should not refuse a request for assistance on the grounds that the request is also considered to involve fiscal matters. B. Laws require financial institutions to designate non-financial businesses and professions except where the relevant information that is sought is held under circumstances where legal privilege or legal professional secrecy apply. To maintain secrecy or confidentiality. C. There is an inquiry, investigation, or proceeding underway in the country receiving the request, unless the assistance would impede that inquiry, investigation, or proceeding, and or the nature of status, civil, administrative, law enforcement, etc. of the requesting counterpart authority is different to its foreign FIU. Paragraph 25. FAUs receiving requests may, as appropriate, refuse to provide information if the requesting FAU cannot protect the information effectively. Paragraph 26. FAUs receiving a request should promptly and to the largest extent possible grant prior consent to disseminate the information to competent authorities. The FAU receiving the request should not refuse consent to such dissemination unless this would fall beyond the scope of application of its AML CFT provisions, could impair criminal investigation, would be clearly disproportionate to the legitimate interests of the natural or legal person or the state of the providing FIU, or would otherwise not be in accordance with fundamental principles of its national law. Any such refusal to grant consent should be appropriately explained. Paragraph 27. Cooperation may also be refused as appropriate on the grounds of lack of reciprocity or recurring inadequate cooperation. All cases that are refused must be justified. An FIU should make all efforts to provide an explanation when the requested cooperation cannot be provided. Data protection and confidentiality. Information received, processed, held, or disseminated by requesting FIUs must be securely protected, exchanged, and used only in accordance with agreed procedures, policies, and applicable laws and regulations. Paragraph 29. FIUs must therefore have rules in place governing the security and confidentiality of such information, including procedures for handling, storage, dissemination, and protection of, as well as access to such information. FIUs should ensure their staff members have the necessary security clearance levels and understand their responsibilities in handling and disseminating sensitive and confidential information. Paragraph 31. FIUs should ensure there is limited access to their facilities and information, including information technology systems. Paragraph 32. Exchanged information should be used only for the purpose for which the information was sought and provided. Any dissemination of the information to other authorities or third parties, or any use of this information for administrative investigation, prosecutorial, or judicial purposes beyond those originally approved should be subject to prior authorization by the requested FIU. At a minimum, exchange information must be treated and protected by the same confidentiality provisions that appear to apply to similar information from domestic sources obtained by the FIU receiving the request. Channels for the exchange of information. Paragraph 34. Exchanges of information should take place in a secure way and through reliable channels or mechanisms. Paragraph 35. To this end, FAU should use the Egmont secure web or other recognized networks that ensure ensure levels of security, reliability, and effectiveness at least equivalent to those of the Egmont secure web, for example, FIU.net. FIU should ensure access to and use of Egmont secure web or other appropriate channels of communication are securely protected and reserved to authorized personnel. The equipment and passwords used for these channels should also be securely protected. Paragraph 37. FAU should be aware of the standards of security, liability, efficiency, and effectiveness applied in the use of the Egmont secure web or other appropriate channels.